At a House Oversight Committee hearing last week, Representative Carolyn Maloney spoke about abortion. The New York lawmaker spoke about legislation introduced by Senator Lindsey Graham to ban abortion nationwide after 15 weeks. Maloney condemned Republicans, saying, quote, "They don't trust women to make the best decisions for themselves." The New York Democrat warned that Republicans would, quote, "stop at nothing to pass a nationwide ban on abortion." The House hearing comes after the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade, sending abortion to the states.
I recognize myself for questions. The fall of Roe v. Wade was the culmination of a decades-long effort by Republican politicians and, I would say, right-wing judges to take away the constitutional right to abortion that has been recognized for half a century in this country. Earlier this month, Senator Lindsey Graham introduced a nationwide criminal ban on abortion, one that would imprison doctors and nurses who perform abortions. Dr. Kumar, you have treated patients in Texas where the right to have an abortion was taken away from women for more than a year ago by a law called SB 8. From what you have seen on the ground in Texas, what would a national abortion ban mean for patients who need abortion care throughout our country?
Thank you for your question. I think a national ban would be very concerning. Like you said, it's been about a little bit over a year in Texas since we had a ban at close to 6 weeks, and that lasted for about 10 months until we had an outright ban. What we know throughout time is that people have always sought ways to end their pregnancies, and even with a ban in Texas, people continue to find or need abortion care, and we would continue to have people calling us, people coming to our clinic, asking us for care. 6 weeks is certainly a very difficult time period to get into care. Most people don't even know that they're pregnant at that point. But what I find with all bans on abortion, whether it's at 6 weeks or 15 weeks, is that they're very arbitrary. When I'm looking at a patient and they say that they can't be pregnant, they're telling me exactly why they can't continue that pregnancy. They don't care whether they're 16 weeks or 15 weeks. They know that they can't be pregnant, they need care, and they'll go to whatever lengths that they can to get that care. And that's what we saw. Many people left Texas to get the care that they needed.
Thank you. Ms. Lee, you made the personal choice to have an abortion under very heartbreaking circumstances, and you used your own judgment to decide what was best for you and your family. What would you say to the Republican politicians here in Washington who think they know better about what is right for you and your family?
Thank you for the question. I'd like to remind people that as Americans, we all have the core value of self-determination, bodily autonomy, and to determine our futures for ourselves and our families. And I like to ground people in that because we all want that for ourselves. I was privileged enough to have that, and that's what I want for anyone seeking an abortion in this country. I made the right choice that I could, just like you would want to do if it was yourself, a family member, or a loved one.
And how does it make you feel that politicians are inserting themselves into one of your most personal and painful decisions that you've ever made?
So the hardest day of my life was having my ultrasound with my son and finding out that what I thought was a healthy pregnancy was indeed not. The second hardest day of my life was finding out that the Pennsylvania legislature was fast-tracking a 20-week ban without any public hearings or input from doctors to ban abortion at 20 weeks. So I've lived that experience, where if that ban had been moving a few weeks earlier or my pregnancy had been timed differently, I would have been legislated about without ever being talked to, without a single abortion patient ever being asked, or physicians or leading scientific groups on these things. It's unthinkable. We don't do this on any other issue, and we need to stop doing it on abortion. Abortion seekers are moral people. Abortion providers are my heroes. We are capable of making these decisions, and we do not want the government in our body and in our private decisions.
I want to thank you for your bravery and for coming before the committee today. My Republican colleagues believe that politicians in Washington should have the power to force a woman in Kentucky, New York, Arizona, Pennsylvania, any state in our country, to give birth, even if the fetus is incompatible with life, as your fetus was. They don't trust women to make the best decisions for themselves, for their families, for their health care, for their lives. Their end game is a nationwide abortion ban that will rip away freedoms from millions of women and put our nation's health care providers at risk of imprisonment. And they will stop at nothing to pass it. We must not let them have their way. I want to thank all of the witnesses for being here. And with that, I recognize the gentlelady from North Carolina.